One of the single most devastatingly effective psychological operations tactics in the military is something so simple, most people wouldn't even see it as a tactic. It's called nostalgia. And amongst females, it is the number one most effective tactic. Now, amongst men, it works as well, but there is one other tactic that I will leave to your imagination that is more effective than nostalgia. But this is how easy it is to get people out of their thinking brains and into their emotions. The idea of, let's just go back to the way things were before. It was so much better back then. I mean, we strayed off the path I think about here. Let's go back to then and things will just all be better again. This is a tactic that has been used for probably at least a century in this country to manipulate people. And in today's video, I'm going to show you an example of this. I'm going to show you a very devious example that they're using. We talk about these types of things over at the Florida Maquis Patreon channel. Psychological operations. I know I talk about this every day in the videos, but I truly believe it's far more important than everything. A lot of people think Florida Maquis, it's much more important to be prepared with food, prepared with weapons, prepared with ammunition, medical supplies, all of these other things. I personally have gold. I'm not saying I personally do, but people say that. Okay, those are all wonderful things. If you lose control of your mind, or you run into somebody who has a better command of mental manipulation tactics than you have defenses, you're going to lose it all. They will take it all from you, and it won't be difficult to do, because we are all susceptible unless we stay trained up, unless we stay on the very bleeding edge of psychological operations every single day. We will fall victim, fall prey. It's only $1 US per month, even less if you sign up for an entire year. Fully refundable first 90 days. No questions asked. Over there, we can take the gloves off, and we can talk about things like adults. We can talk about things we can't talk about here. Yes, let the nostalgia flow through you. People think things were so much better in the past. I found this picture. I thought it was kind of funny. I thought I'd share it. People today, people are so violent and depraved these days. Things were better in the old days. People clearly have not read one word about the Spanish Inquisition or about what they used to do in medieval times to punish people. And this one should really blow your mind. People said, oh, since we've had all of this technology and phones in our hands and tablets and this easy access to information, things have just gone to hell. Well, here's a picture from 1916. All they're doing is just reading the same information using a different medium. Another picture of the same thing from 100 years ago. And believe it or not, let's zoom this in. Really great article here from The Atlantic. When nostalgia was seen as a disease. See, this started to manifest itself in wartime, where soldiers would get under stress and they would hear something, or there would be a smell or a scent, and it would send them back into their childhoods, and they would just retreat mentally and become useless. And they would have to be institutionalized for this. Now, what's going on in the real world that they're using this tactic against us? This article, new UN-backed legal recommendations normalize sex with minors. Outraged critics say, quote, children may consent to sex with adults. This has been the plan all along. Social media influencers charge. Now, long and the short of what's going on is this. Now, social media influencers have had a ton of fun running this around saying, see, they want our kids. They want our kids. What's going on is this. People live in their own little worlds, their own little bubbles. They don't understand how the rest of the world, especially in North America, is different. There are places in the world where kids are basically property. They have no legal rights of their own. And in these places, prostitution is illegal. Most of the world, this is the case. And so there are kids trapped in prostitution at the behest of the adults placed over them. And they have no rights. What the UN is trying to do is grant these kids rights to emancipate themselves from the forced sex work they've been put into. That's what they're trying to do here. But of course, it's being twisted because they want to give kids these rights and say that they have the rights to determine this, that, and the other for themselves, in the sexual arena. That somehow it's a completely different thing. Now, here's a game you can play. Screenshot this, turn it into a giant map on your wall, and then go grab some darts. And then start drawing countries out of a hat. Write all your countries out and see if you can hit the country that matches the age you think a person is of age. See all of these different colors? It is random what a quote-unquote pedophile is or isn't. Even in North America, in Mexico, they have law that every single little state down in Mexico has all sorts of different laws, and the vast majority of the laws around the world talking about this only apply to girls. Virtually none of them apply to boys. None. That's right. Look it up. Almost all laws around the world that govern this, where they criminalize this type of behavior, all only talk about if ABC older dude and XYZ younger female engage in some type of activity, these laws are going to start to kick into effect. This is Europe. This is Europe alone. 14, 15, 16, 18. And a lot of this also depends on age difference. And some of it depends on whether it's heterosexual sex or homosexual sex. This is North America. There's 3 different standards here. In Florida, it's very odd. We have a standard of 18, but you can get married at 17. I want you to think about biblically that very slowly. In the state of Florida, the legal age of consent is 18, but you can legally be married at the age of 17. Think about that for a minute. This is Africa, ages of consent in Europe. You can look up age of consent in North America. Here's where they talk about, you can look at Honduras, Mexico. All the laws all apply only to boys. Consent in Africa, Asia. And here it is, minimum marriage age nationally. 17 in Florida, 16 in Georgia, 16 in South Carolina. Some states don't even talk about it. Age of marriage, they only talk about the relations. The legality of the relations. New Hampshire, 13, but I'm sure their age of consent is much higher. Here's the article's talking about this. You see, this is what PSYOPs will do. Oh, we just need to go back to back when things were so much better and so much easier. This is all a function of the modern world. Malarkey. Total malarkey and total baloney. You go back 100 years in this country and look at the ages of consent then. You want to have a real fun time? Go to and down here in the South, it's not hard to do. Go to some old cemeteries, old graveyards, and start looking at dates of birth and dates of death. And see if you can find married couples, because sometimes they lay families and plots together. And see if you can go look at when the wife was born, when the husband was born. You'll see some very strange numbers start to pop up. Sometimes if they're married, they'll put the date that they were married. And you can see, also by when they passed away, that something was very, very different than what you would call appropriate in the modern world. Now, men are super simple when it comes to manipulating their minds and getting, them to do things, especially under interrogation. But when it comes to women, women are a little bit different. Women absolutely have this idea of nostalgia, of things being better way back when. And if you can use that to get inside what they're thinking, you can get them to give you the information you need. You can get them to acquiesce to whatever, in the sense of when you have them detained, if you need them to give up information, if you need them to get others to give up information. Let's just go back to when things were blah, 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 blah. Grandpa, tell me about the good old days, the Judds, the Isaacs, all the people that ever sang that song. This does it every single time. Every single time. And it's a tough thing to say, hey, you know what? Your great-grandparents, your great-great-grandparents, by your definition, would be criminals. They would be criminal pedophiles based on their attitudes. Bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah, in the Judaic tradition, is the age of coming to adulthood. That's the Jewish celebration, kind of like a quinceañera. In the Hispanic world, 15 years old, they have this big party. You have to go back and think, what were things really like way back when? And you can't, until the world comes to a conclusion on this, which is never going to happen. These colors over here in pink and purple, there's no laws governing age, but you must be married. Any place you see a purple dot, marriage is required or it's criminal. It's absolutely bizarre to read a story like this and have people believe, there's people out there that really believe that there is a standard definition of what a minor is. There isn't. And even when you look at those people who have made laws, the vast majority of the ones around the world, the laws only apply one direction. It's only in North America do we say that 16 and 17-year-old young men and 22 and 23-year-old young women, their relations are criminal. And I'm not even going to get into that because that's a whole nother ball of wax. But anyway, I will leave it there. But once again, this is something I think not a lot of people considered. When they saw that article, they probably went right along with the outrage. But they didn't stop to think, wait a minute, what could really be going on? And why do I always think that whenever I see something like this, gosh, it would be so much better if, and then think about a year, 1976, 1963, 1951. Pick a year. Why is that? Well, it's psychological dysphoria. It's a form of, mental defense mechanism. So anyway, I will leave it there. Would love to have you a Patreon. It's only $1 per month, fully refundable. If you sign up for a whole year, it's even less. It comes out to like 3 pennies a day. The reason I have it set at the lowest allowable level is so that most people can get read in on this. And we are going to have a brand new video next 24 to 48 hours. I always give a warning. I try to here on YouTube when I'm almost done putting together a video, and try to give at least a couple days notice so people can get signed up and get ready and be looking for it. So anyway, I hope everyone has a wonderful week, had a great weekend. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.